Dear colleagues, Ministry of Defense spokesperson Mr. Vilyen Pidgornyy will speak on Russian military aggression in eastern Ukraine. Mr. Pidgornyy, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We continue with our weekly press briefings regarding the Russia-Ukraine military conflict in eastern Ukraine and Crimea. Let me give you a short update on the events that took place between September 19th and 25th. Last week, the number of ceasefire violations committed by Russia-backed militants decreased in comparison with the previous week. As my colleagues, Colonel Andriy Lysenko and Colonel Alexander Motuzanik told earlier in their press briefings, the decreased number of ceasefire violations coincided with the visits of the European leaders and members of the European Parliament to the front line in eastern Ukraine. Notably, on September 19th, 3 members of the European Parliament, Rebecca Harms, Mikhail Bony, and Yaromir Shtetina, visited the government-controlled checkpoint of Mariinka, Donetsk region. They witnessed the consequences of militant attacks and insist on maintaining and strengthening of sanctions until Russia and its proxies fulfill Minsk Accords, starting from a complete and sustainable ceasefire along the front line. The lowest number of violations was registered on September 20th. There were 13 episodes of shelling and gunfire. The highest number of ceasefire violations was registered on September 23rd and 24th, with 28 and 29 hostile attacks, respectively. I would like to draw your attention to the fact that even during the peak days, the number was lower than during the same period of the previous week. Diagram 1, please. Russia-backed militants violated ceasefire most frequently in Donetsk and Mariupol sectors. Diagram 2, please. The heavy weaponry, which is banned by Minsk agreements, was exclusively used in the Donetsk sector in the greater area of the Donetsk airport, Avdiivka and Piske village, as well as in Horlivka perimeter and the village of Novoselivka Druga. The vast majority of ceasefire violations took place in the following areas: Popasna area, Stanitsa Luhanska, and neighboring villages of Novozvanivka and Novoalexandrivka in the Luhansk sector, the greater area of the Donetsk airport and Horlivka perimeter in the Donetsk sector, and traditional flashpoints in the Mariupol sector in such areas as Mariinka, Talakivka, Pavlopil, Novotroitske, Starognativka, and Vodyane. The distinctive feature of the last week was a gradual decrease of militant attacks in the Mariupol sector. From 12 ceasefire violations of September 24th to only 3 violations on September 25th. Such low number has not been recorded in this sector in months. Diagram 3, please. Last week, 1 Ukrainian serviceman was killed in action and 14 were wounded. Our hearts go out to the families and friends of the fallen hero. Out of those injured, 11 were wounded in action and 3 received their injuries as a result of booby traps explosions. Nevertheless, Russian proxies never ceased fire completely. According to Ukraine's military intelligence, Russia continues to supply its contingent in eastern Ukraine with military hardware and manpower. Over the last week, a Russian-trained sniper unit as well as the Russia's National Guard unit arrived to Yasinovata, Donetsk region. Furthermore, Russia continued the rotation of units from the 331st Airborne Regiment and delivered 3 additional T-64 battle tanks, 4 Tiger armored vehicles, and 7 military trucks to Donetsk on September 20th. Ukrainian and OSCE representatives within the Trilateral Contact Group in Minsk succeeded in pushing for a pilot project of pulling out forces from direct proximity of each other in 3 areas on the front line. These areas are Stanitsa Luhanska, Zolote, and Petrovske. The pullout is only possible if complete and sustained ceasefire in the area is upheld. However, Russia-backed militants repeatedly obstructed the work of the OSCE monitors. For instance, on September 25th, the militants of the so-called Luhansk People's Republic denied access to the OSCE monitors in Pervomaisk-Zolote area. The militants even built concrete blocks on the road between the two towns. Ukrainian armed forces, on the other hand, are ready to comply with agreements and facilitate the work of the OSCE Special Monitoring Mission. The deadline for implementing the initiative of the Trilateral Contact Group is October 4th. Unfortunately, the militants keep violating ceasefire arrangements, putting in danger the lives of Ukrainian service members, OSCE monitors, as well as civilian population. We fully support the initiative, but stress the need for reciprocal action, which means that the complete and sustainable ceasefire must remain a priority. That'll be all for today, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Pidgornyy. We'll be looking forward to seeing you here next Monday.